Chapter 91. Mr. Li lost his composure again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Before Yang Ming's acquisition, Wharf Matheson was a subsidiary of Jardine Matheson Land, which means that the important executives of Wharf Matheson are basically from Jardine Matheson Land. At that time, Yang Ming did not think about dealing with the original Wharf executives, but it did not mean that those Wharf executives would obey the Imperial Group. At that time, Yang Ming inspected Wharf for the first time. Except for bringing 2 finance personnel to the Wharf Finance Department, he did not move like other department executives. Yang Ming had already seen through the expressions of those senior executives at that time. Now actually sending Ma Shimin means that he has truly begun to take over the Wharf. With Ma Shimin's ability, Yang Ming believed that Wharf would definitely be digested and truly become part of the Imperial Group. After Ma Shimin left, Meredith had always been curious about where Imperial Group's funds came from. Lin Shouji took Marisi to the office area. Marisi finally knew where the funds of Yang Ming and the Imperial Group came from. This time, he was really shocked. Yang Ming and the Imperial Group actually obtained their funds from the global stock market. For this time period alone, we can start with the Hong Kong stock market, Tokyo stock market, Singapore stock market, etc. Moreover, this is still through short-term operations, and the return rate is as high as over 80%. Melis was shocked to see the staff in the office trading stocks through landline phones. Secretary Lin, how do they know what stocks to buy? After all, when it comes to stock investment, Maris knows it. Like short-term investment in the stock market, the risk is really too great. General Manager, this is all arranged by the boss in advance. Mr. Yang arranged it in advance. How can this be? Maris couldn't believe it. After Lin Shouji took Maris to visit the office area, Maris could confirm that the most mysterious source of funds of the Imperial Group was really related to these short-term investments in the stock market. Lin Shouji and Milisi returned to the chairman's office. Milisi, are you done with the tour? Yang Ming asked with a smile. Boss, I was really shocked just now. This short-term investment in stocks is obviously risky, so why can we still make such a big profit? Except for Yang Ming himself, no one else could know this. Meredith, this is my secret. No one knows it except me. At first, people like Kayla, Lin Shouji, and even Jason were shocked. However, as time passed, they didn't know the reason and would no longer speculate. They privately speculated that behind the boss Yang Ming, there must be a huge team that collected global stock information in advance, which was why short-term investment in the stock market was possible with such a high rate of return. So where is the huge team of boss Mr. Yang? Yang Ming didn't tell them, and they didn't know. When Merlis heard this, he didn't ask any more questions. On the contrary, now that he knew the source of Yang Ming's funds, he felt that his boss was even more mysterious. When Milisi sat down, Yang Ming said, Milisi, now you are the general manager of the Empire Group, and many things in the company will be handled by you. Boss, I will do my best to do a good job. I arranged the Red Bull beverage company you just acquired in Siam like this. First, if the researchers of the Red Bull beverage company, including their families, are willing to come to Xiangjiang, then move to Xiangjiang and arrange accommodation for them. Second, Hutchison Whampoa owns the Hutchison Soda Company. In addition, there are sales channels like Watson's and PepsiCo. I plan to let you and Wei Li take over the handover and privatize Hutchison Soda. It has become the parent company of Red Bull Beverage Company, and Hutchison Soda's factories and sales channels will all serve Red Bull beverage. What Yang Ming said is for the development of Red Bull. Otherwise, he would not have let Maris fly all the way to Siam and spend 80 million Hong Kong dollars to buy this beverage company. He knows that with proper marketing and channel sales, Red Bull will definitely become popular in Hong Kong and even the world. Boss, I understand. What Yang Ming said, Maris already knew what to do. As for the rest, leave it to him. When Milisi came out of Yang Ming's chairman's office, came to an office next door. This is the general manager's office of the Imperial Group. It can be said that from now on, he will be the number 2 figure in the Imperial Group. Looking at the plaque on the door of the general manager's office, Maris was also a little excited. Compared with his previous position as CEO of Ha Par Company in Singapore, and his current position as general manager of Empire Group, it is really incomparable. Maris began to go about his business. and when he got into working mode, Yang Ming relaxed in his chairman's office. Noon, Yang Ming originally wanted to have a work meal with MaleProtagonist, but MaleProtagonist was not seen. MaleProtagonist should have gone out to be busy. 17:30 p.m., Yang Ming got into the Rolls-Royce and took the car back to the Repulse Bay Mid-Levels villa. At this time, news about the official appointment of two important executives by Imperial Group has appeared in major newspapers. Among them, Maris serves as the general manager of the Empire Group and the second-ranking figure in the Empire Group. Ma Shimin serves as the general manager of Wharf, and Wharf's new Taipan is fully responsible for Wharf. It can be said that both of these are very important executive positions. Many ordinary citizens in Hong Kong were concerned about the annual salary and benefits of these two white men for holding such important positions. They had just returned from get-off work to Lijiaqing in Deepwater Bay. Recently I have found that things seem to be not going well for me. First, he wanted to sneak attack on Wharf, but the Imperial Group attacked Wharf earlier than he did. In the end, the Imperial Group swallowed up Wharf. What's more, he didn't expect that Hutchison Whampoa, which he had always dreamed of, would eventually be sold to the Imperial Group at a cheap price by Mr. Shen. Lijiaqing is not the kind of person who gets discouraged easily. I also have Changchun Industrial Group. When he came back from get-off work, the maid opened the door. He had just taken off his suit, and his wife, Zhuang Yueming, had already come over to get the suit for him and hang it on the hanger next to him. Lijiaqing went directly to the sofa and sat down, crossing his feet and reading the newspaper. The doorbell rang outside the door. The maid went out and came back with a stack of freshly baked evening newspapers. "Mr. Li, it's today's evening paper." When the maid took those evening newspapers to Lijiaqing's side, Lijiaqing took it casually. When he saw the news on the front page of the Oriental Daily Evening News, he was shocked again. This? His gloomy look startled the maid next to him. In front of outsiders, Lijiaqing is a Chinese Confucian businessman with a good temper. However, the maid who has been with him for so many years knows very well that a rich man like Lijiaqing has a not simple temper. "Sir, what's wrong?" At this time, Lijiaqing noticed the front-page news about Imperial Group personnel appointments. In the current photo, apart from Yang Ming sitting in a wheelchair, the two on the left and right are MaleProtagonist and Ma Shimin. Whether it was MaleProtagonist or Ma Shimin, Lijiaqing had actually known them for many years. He had even approached them many times in order to get them to join Changchun Industrial Group to work for him. Both Melis and Ma Shimin ultimately rejected his invitation. Now the talents he admires most have both joined the Imperial Group. Soon, Zhuang Yueming also noticed the news. Only then did she understand why her husband suddenly lost his temper. Can't get it and lose it again and again. "Mary, it has nothing to do with you. You go do other things first." "Yes, ma'am." The maid seemed to run away in a panic. Third chapter. Please subscribe. Chapter 93. Huifeng Bank is willing to sell 20 shares to Imperial Group. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 93. Huifeng Bank is willing to sell 20% of its shares to Imperial Group. Shenbai knew that this was another difficult and far-reaching decision. However, when he saw the golden statue of Huifeng Bank building in the study, he knew that the decision he made would not be wrong. Picked up the landline phone on the desk and called Kayla. "Kayla, tell Mr. Yang that in principle, the major shareholders of Huifeng Bank and I have agreed on the Imperial Group's purchase of 20% of the shares of Huifeng Bank. In detail, both parties need to send representatives to negotiate until both parties are satisfied." Kira suddenly received a call from Chairman Shenbai. Kira was really shocked when she heard what Shenbai said. She didn't expect that Huifeng Bank would actually sell 20% of its shares to Yang Ming. Doesn't this mean that Yang Ming and Imperial Group will become the major shareholders of Huifeng Bank? "Chairman, I've written it down." Kayla suddenly woke up. At this time, Shenbai had hung up the phone. Kayla originally wanted to call Yang Ming immediately, but thinking that Yang Ming had already taken a rest, she decided to drive there in person tomorrow morning and tell Yang Ming, which would make Yang Ming value her more. Early the next day, after Yang Ming got up, he washed his face, changed his clothes, and came downstairs in a wheelchair under the service of Azu and Zhong Chuhong, there in the yard, without the support of Azu and Zhong Chuhong. Yang Ming got out of the wheelchair and slowly began to exercise walking. After almost half an hour, Yang Ming felt his feet were weak and his whole body was sweating, so he returned to the wheelchair and sat down. At this time, Lin Dezhong came over and said, "Mr. Yang, Miss Kayla is here. When Azu pushed Yang Ming to the door, he saw Kayla stopping the red Bayer and Kayla was getting out of the car. When looking at Kayla's smile, she was afraid that there was another happy event. Mr. Yang, congratulations. Congratulations to me. Mr. Milasai and Mr. Ma Shimin join the Imperial Group. This is indeed a happy occasion. Mr. Yang, it's something very important that I want to talk to you alone. Kayla and Yang Ming went up to the study room on the 3rd floor. Kayla said directly, Mr. Yang, congratulations again, you will soon become the major shareholder of Huifeng Bank. Late last night, Mr. Shen called me and said that in principle, Huifeng Bank has agreed to sell 20% of its shares. I'll give it to you, but as for how to cooperate here, both parties will have to send people to continue talking until both parties are satisfied. Of course. Yang Ming bought a stake in Huifeng Bank and took 20% of Huifeng Bank's shares. This was what Yang Ming expected, of course, even if he becomes the majority shareholder of Huifeng Bank, he will not be able to exercise the power of Huifeng Bank now, because of the special nature of Huifeng Bank. It means that Huifeng Bank's management rights have little to do with its equity. For example, even if Shen Yan does not own any shares in Huifeng Bank, as the chief executive of Huifeng Bank, as long as he is in office, he has the final say on all matters of Huifeng Bank. Mr. Yang, I wonder how you want to cooperate with Huifeng Bank. First take the shares of Huifeng Bank and let Huifeng Bank hand over the funds to the Imperial Group for investment. The Imperial Group will make profits based on a fixed rate of return. The specific number of years of cooperation between the two parties depends on the degree of negotiation between the two parties. Kira thinks so. Now Shen Bai, Huifeng Bank, and even the shareholders of Huifeng Bank are willing to dilute their shares and sell 20% of their shares to Imperial Group. They must be hoping that Yang Ming and Imperial Group can bring high profits to Huifeng Bank. Yang Ming actually wanted to laugh when he thought of this. In the future, many fraudsters will use high interest rates to lure ordinary investors. Now, Yang Ming did not expect that he would also lure Huifeng Bank and Mr. Shen with high interest rates. Now that Yang Ming is doing that, in fact, he can really do it. Huifeng Bank and Shen Bian dared to do that not only because of the relationship with the Imperial Group, but also because Yang Ming acquired Wharf and Hutchison Whampoa and had huge assets as collateral. They were not worried that Yang Ming would deceive Huifeng at all. Bank. Yang Ming and Kayla chatted in the study for half an hour. Come down from the study. After the two of them had breakfast with Yang Jirong and his wife, Yang Ming got into the Rolls-Royce and headed to the Federal Building. When coming to the Empire State Group at the Federal Building, Yang Ming was in the chairman's office, drinking hot coffee that Lin Shoji had just brewed. It was a bit bitter, but it made Yang Ming feel quite energetic. After a while, Yang Ming asked Lin Shoji to distribute stock information from around the world to those in charge. Inform General Manager Mai Lizi and Tang Shilian to come to the office to meet me. Melisai has already returned to the company. He even had breakfast in the Imperial Group's canteen. Empire Group now provides a variety of breakfast, lunch, dinner, and even late-night snacks. In this regard, Maris thinks it is quite good. General Manager, Mr. Yang will inform you to come over. Okay, I'll be there right away. When Merlis came to the chairman's office next door, soon, I saw that in addition to the boss Yang Ming, there was also the financial director Tang Shilian. Now add him and Lin Shoji. Merith, how's the Hutchison soda? Boss, I went to Hutchison building yesterday to talk to Mr. Wei Li. Mr. Wei Li has no problem with your proposal to privatize Hutchison soda. It's just that in Mr. Wei Li's view, Hutchison soda is completely at a loss. Privatization will only result in loss of money, and now that the Imperial Group is next, it is just right. However, Mr. Wei Li feels that it is better to sell it to others. Historically, Wei Li has basically handled all the hundreds of Hutchison international companies that should be dealt with. Those that are losing money are basically sold or stopped. It is precisely because of that Hutchison Whampoa began to gradually become profitable. Wei Li is known as the company doctor, which means that some companies have been losing money all year round. Just like a person who is sick, he needs to be treated with the right medicine. The same goes for companies that are losing money, and they will be treated according to different situations. However, in Yang Ming's view, Hutchison soda may not be valuable. but as long as it is reasonable, it will still be valuable in the future. How is Hutchison doing now? Boss, the internal management of Hutchison Whampoa is very complicated. Now that Mr. Wei Li is still there, of course he can suppress the management below. If he were not here, I am afraid that the contradictions among the management below would be deep. Maris has also studied these. If Yang Ming asked him to manage Hutchison Whampoa, it would probably be more difficult than Ma Shimin managing Wharf. After all, Hutchison Whampoa ranks second among the 4 major foreign banks in Hong Kong and has hundreds of subsidiaries. It is not that easy to manage. Neither Wei Li nor other Hutchison Whampoa executives can move for the time being. However, if Wei Li is willing to join the Imperial Group, I will still give him a chance. Yang Ming's plan is to completely control Hutchison Whampoa, and then send people to deal with Hutchison Whampoa. However, at that time, at least 70% of the shares must be controlled. Chapter 5. Please subscribe. Chapter 94. The shopping mall is like a battlefield. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Regardless of whether Wei Li or Li Caixin had other ideas, Yang Ming knew that at the moment he acquired Hutchison Whampoa, Hutchison Whampoa was destined to have nothing to do with anyone else. Yang Ming will not deal with this matter yet. Meredith, this morning, Miss Kayla told me that Huifeng Bank and Mr. Shen have agreed to sell 20% of Huifeng Bank's shares to me and Imperial Group. What? Yang Ming and Imperial Group want to acquire 20% of Huifeng Bank shares. Mai Lizi, Tang Shilian, and Lin Xiuji were all shocked when they heard it. In fact, Huifeng Bank implements voting rights similar to those of AB shares. The main shareholders of Huifeng Bank are from Europe, especially Great Britain. The management and decision-making rights are still completely in the hands of the management of Huifeng Bank. On the contrary, like other major shareholders, including Bao Yugang, they have no decision-making power at all, only dividends and the right to know. The 3 of them were surprised. However, he reacted quickly. Shen Yi and Huifeng Bank agreed to sell their shares to Yang Ming simply because they wanted to get more returns from the Imperial Group. Mr. Shen already knew that I could make huge profits in the stock market through short-term investment. That's why Mr. Shen agreed to put forward my conditions, including selling Hutchison International shares to Imperial Group. Another point is that Shen Bai accepted Yang Ming's 3 gifts in private. Boss, how do Huifeng Bank want to cooperate? According to what I have learned now, Huifeng Bank provided Imperial Group with a sum of money, allowing us to use the money to invest in the stock market and give it to Huifeng Bank at a fixed rate of return. At this time, the 3 of Milasai finally understood. It turns out that these are what Shen Bai and Huifeng Bank are targeting. Of course, like the current Imperial Group's short-term investment in global stock markets, it can achieve a return rate of at least 50% every day. If it cooperates with Huifeng Bank, of course it is impossible to do that. I propose that the maximum return rate in a year can only be 10 points. 10 points of return. 10 billion Hong Kong dollars, that is a return rate of 1 billion Hong Kong dollars, this is definitely very high globally. For example, the annual profit of Huifeng Bank is currently around 78 Hong Kong dollars. If you invest 10 billion Hong Kong dollars in Imperial Group and make a profit of 1 billion Hong Kong dollars in a year, that is equivalent to doubling the profits of Huifeng Bank. In this case, Shen Yi would naturally not refuse, if Huifeng Bank lends money to those investors normally. In fact, the interest rate will definitely not be that high, and it will be much lower. On the contrary, Huifeng Bank gave lower interest rates to depositors such as Xiangjiang citizens. In this way, Huifeng Bank naturally made a few points in vain without doing anything, even if there is no need to expand the staff of Huifeng Bank. After Yang Ming received the 10 billion Hong Kong dollars from Huifeng Bank, he did not need to invest in the stock market. On the contrary, he could invest in other industries. For Yang Ming, the more liquid funds, the better. He can use them to make many investments. Also, regarding the acquisition of 20% of the shares of Huifeng Bank. We are talking to Huifeng Bank. If they want us to spend money to purchase, for example, it may cost 2 billion Hong Kong dollars to purchase, that is fine. However, we are investing in cooperation with them. At that time, the profit obtained must be discussed according to the share ratio, such as 28%, etc. The most important thing is that after we obtain the shares of Huifeng Bank, we must get as much as possible from Huifeng Bank funds. After all, with such huge interests involved, Huifeng Bank will definitely not let it go easily. Yang Ming is not worried at all. He is worried about Huifeng Bank and their shareholders. Our Imperial Group will not announce this matter to the public for the time being, and it will not be announced to the public. MaleProtagonist will be the person in charge of the negotiation, and Tang Shilian and the people from the finance department will be the negotiators. When will Huifeng Bank negotiate? You can talk to them anytime. Yes, boss. Melis was really excited, because he found that the strength of his boss, Mr. Yang, was far beyond his imagination. After Yang Ming, Tang Shilian, and MaleProtagonist finished talking about this matter, they asked them to go back and prepare. After all, Huifeng Bank should not be able to wait long, and the two parties will definitely have to conduct the first negotiation. Noon, Yang Ming had just finished lunch in the company canteen. Kira quietly came to the office of the chairman of the Imperial Group. Mr. Yang, I am here on behalf of Mr. Shen and Huifeng Bank. Now we have determined the time and place for the first round of negotiations between the two parties. However, Mr. Shen feels that this matter should not be announced to the public. I think it's not appropriate to announce it to the public. As for the time of the first round of negotiations, it doesn't matter in the afternoon or tonight. As for the location, it can be at Huifeng Bank. If both parties are not satisfied with the first round, the location for the second round can be the Imperial Group will continue to negotiate until both parties are satisfied. The official business is over. Yang Ming and Kira smiled at each other. Mr. Shen is worried, right? Of course. He summoned the directors of Huifeng Bank for a confidential discussion in the morning to discuss this matter. All the directors of Huifeng Bank were present at that time. Bao Yugong also participated. I participated, but he came out of the conference room with a bad look on his face. This was expected by Yang Ming, even though Bao Yugong sent him a congratulatory note and invitation letter. However, Yang Ming knows that shopping malls are like battlefields. Originally, Bao Yugong was planning to abandon the boat and land, intending to go to Wharf and Hutchison Whampoa. Who would have thought that Bao Yugong would be happy if he was eaten by Yang Ming first? As for Yang Ming's acquisition of 20% of Huifeng Bank's shares, Bao Yugong, as the major shareholder of Huifeng Bank, really has no decision-making power and can only follow Shen Bai's arrangements. Can he be happy? The sudden appearance of the Imperial Group now frightened him. If Yang Ming swallows another 20% of Huifeng Bank's shares, Bao Yugong will feel even more worried. Whether he is happy or not, no one can stop me from moving forward. Yang Ming looked outside. The mall is like a battlefield. Yang Ming experienced this in his previous life. There is no such thing as friendship in the mall. Historically, although Li Jiaqing and Mr. Bao cooperated, after Mr. Bao died of cancer, Mr. Li stabbed each other in the back. What's more, Hong Kong's resources are limited. In a world where the strong prey on the weak, if he doesn't devour others, others will devour him. Only by strengthening yourself first and weakening your opponents can you become stronger. In Yang Ming's eyes, whether there is British capital or Chinese capital, as long as someone dares to block his progress, it will be a stepping stone for his rise. Kayla didn't stick around anymore. When Kayla went back to report to Mr. Shen, in the afternoon, Kira came to see Yang Ming again. Mr. Yang, Mr. Shen has decided that at 2000 hours tonight, the two parties will have the first round of confidential talks in the conference room of Huifeng Bank building. Chapter 6. Please subscribe. Chapter 96. Mr. Shen wants to pull Yang Ming onto a ship. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the past, John Bao was Shen Bai's boss, but now Shen Bai is John Bao's boss. The two are respectively the chairman and vice chairman of Huifeng Bank, the first and second leaders of the company. As professional managers, their current status cannot be said to be a matter of money. Often honor, status, and influence will affect them more. However, what John Bao couldn't understand was why Li Jiaqing, whom Shen Bai was very optimistic about before, was suddenly given up by Shen Bai and chose to cooperate with Mr. Yang of the Imperial Group. Judging from his information, John Bao still feels that Mr. Yang is very mysterious, although John Bao already knows that Mr. Yang is very good at short-term investment and has special channels and sources of information. He can make a lot of profits in the stock market. In Bao Zhan's view, Yang Ming is still too young and his foundation may not be stable. On the contrary, Li Jiaqing is now 50 years old and has 20 or 30 years of experience in business. At the beginning, John Bao was also very optimistic about Li Jiaqing, a Chinese businessman. He has always felt that Li Jiaqing has great hope of becoming a Chinese business giant in Hong Kong. John Bao, what do you think? Shen Bai asked. Prior to this, John Bao served as the executive president of Huifeng Bank, and he had great hope of becoming the new chief executive after the previous chief executive, Sandus. In the end, Shen Bai took over from Sandus and became the new chairman of Huifeng Bank. John Bao is also optimistic about Shen Bai. He knows that Shen Bai is very visionary and capable. Therefore, even though he is only the second in command now, he fully cooperates with Shen Bai. Chairman, I support whatever you do. Shen Bai said, we need to take a long-term view. I am more and more optimistic about Mr. Yang. Are you becoming more and more optimistic about Mr. Yang? John Bao was surprised. Is it precisely because of that the Hutchison International shares held by Huifeng Bank were eventually sold to Imperial Group at half the price? I was originally optimistic about Mr. Li or Mr. Bao. However, now Mr. Li and Mr. Bao are older. They have an obvious disadvantage. They do not have huge funds. If they want to develop, they must obtain financial support from banks. Mr. Yang is different. He is young and has huge funds. Like this time, when Imperial Group acquires the shares of Huifeng Bank, I have to agree to him, which can be regarded as pulling him on board Huifeng Bank. Let everyone be their own people, otherwise, with the way Imperial Group makes money, why should he cooperate with us? John Bao nodded. He seemed to understand why Shen Bai was optimistic about the young Mr. Yang. Like Kayla and others, Shen Bai felt that Yang Ming was able to obtain the stock information in advance because there must be a huge team behind it to collect information on various listed companies for Yang Ming. At this point, I am afraid that it will be difficult for Huifeng Bank and even other investment consortiums around the world to achieve. So where is the huge team behind Mr. Yang? Of course Shen Bai couldn't guess it. Others think that by selling the shares of Hutchison International to Mr. Yang, I received benefits from Mr. Yang. In fact, I have been thinking about the next step for Huifeng Bank. John Bao nodded again. Shen Yi knew that he had indeed received 3 expensive gifts from Yang Ming. However, he would never speak out unless he later retired. My idea is to sell 20% of the shares of Huifeng Bank to the Imperial Group. In exchange for the Imperial Group, we will no longer share the investment profits from our cooperation with them. According to Shen Yi's ideas, even if the cooperation lasts for 5 years, a profit of 5 billion can be obtained. What is this concept? In 1973, Huifeng Bank's net profit was about 280 million. In 1974, Huifeng Bank's net profit was 300 Hong Kong dollars million. In 1975, Huifeng Bank's net profit was 330 Hong Kong dollars million. In 1976, Huifeng Bank's net profit was about 400 Hong Kong dollars million. In 1977, Huifeng Bank's net profit was more than 500 million. This year, Huifeng Bank's profit should be around 7.8 billion. In other words, Yang Ming's return on investment is still very high. When Shen Yi and Bao Zhan finished drinking the bottle of red wine, they had finished talking. John Bao knew that even if Shen Bai didn't say it out, he would stand up and support Shen Bai. With Shen Bai's tough style and strong attitude at Huifeng Bank, no one else can object to anything he decides. After John Bao left, Shen Bai picked up the landline phone and called the housekeeper of Victoria Peak Villa and asked the other party to tell his wife that he would stay in the mansion on the top floor of the Huifeng Bank building to rest tonight. 22:00 p.m., My Lizzie personally drove to Repulse Bay Mid-Levels Villa to meet Yang Ming. Detailed report on the first round of negotiations between Imperial Group and Huifeng Bank. Yang Ming said, if nothing unexpected happens, Mr. Shen will definitely choose the first option. At that time, the reason why Bao Yugong took a stake in Huifeng Bank was that Global Shipping cooperated with Huifeng Bank, and Huifeng Bank was optimistic about the future of global shipping. Therefore, Bao Yugong can buy shares in Huifeng Bank without spending any money. Huifeng Bank cross-holds the shares of many companies under Global Shipping. Now Yang Ming and Imperial Group want to acquire 20% of the shares of Huifeng Bank. For Shen Bai, this is still a dream. The other party may have long wanted to drag Yang Ming onto this ship, however, he and Bao Yugong are still very different. Whether it is Bao Yugong or Li Jiacheng, they themselves need financial support from Huifeng Bank to develop. The Imperial Group doesn't need it at all. Marith was surprised. If that's the case, wouldn't it mean that you get 20% of Huifeng Bank shares in vain? He also knew that according to the first plan, the Imperial Group would definitely have to pay the price of return on investment. Boss, if Huifeng Bank really chooses the first option, how should we discuss it next? According to what I said, Huifeng Bank's 10 billion investment funds will have an annual return rate of 10 points, and the cooperation period will be up to 5 years. I still say the same, the more funds, the better. If Huifeng Bank dares to invest more funds in me, I will give them more interest. How could Yang Ming dislike more funds? He is waiting for more funds to be used as working capital or invested in other profitable industries. Melis always feels that there are still some risks here. Boss, I always feel like I'm dancing on a knife's edge. What if I can't make that much profit and lose my principal? Melis reminded me. It was obvious that Maris was thinking about Yang Ming and the Imperial Group. Yang Ming said, Meilisi, Huifeng Bank and Shenbai are not worried, so why should we worry? What's more, if the shareholders of Shenbai and Huifeng Bank dare to do that, they will definitely value our assets. Value, including Hutchison Whampoa, Wharf, and Empire Group's deposits in Huifeng Bank. These are all used as guarantees by them, and they are not worried at all that we will lose money, or even repay their principal. Chapter 8. Please subscribe. Chapter 97. It is rumored that Imperial Group wants to acquire Huifeng Bank. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was already late at night after Yang Ming and Milesi finished chatting. Melis did not go back and stayed in the guest room of the Repulse Bay mid-level villa to rest. After Marith left, Yang Ming is still in the study. He was thinking about something when there was a knock on the door. Peter, aren't you asleep yet? Yang Ming had already seen Li Yufang coming in. Mommy, I just finished talking to Maris and I haven't slept yet. My Peter is too desperate. Li Yufang looked at Yang Ming with some worry. She knew that Yang Ming had not fully recovered after all, and now he got up early to go to work like normal people, and even had to work late at night. This was not something ordinary people could bear. Mommy, now that Melis is helping me, I feel much more relaxed. Li Yufang asked Yang Ming to drink the bowl of nutritious soup first and let Yang Ming rest early. After Li Yufang left, Yang Ming returned to the master room and lay down to rest. Early the next day, Yang Ming still got up early as usual. Under the service of Azu and Zhong Chuhong, he washed his face and clothes, changed his clothes, and came downstairs in a wheelchair. While Yang Ming was exercising in the yard, Maris came down from upstairs and was surprised to see that the boss was still able to walk with Azu and the two women supporting him. Boss, what are you doing? Meilisi, I'm exercising to recover myself. Maris realized that although Yang Ming was in a wheelchair, he could regain walking through exercise. After Yang Ming finished his exercise, he changed his clothes and came downstairs under the service of Azu and Zhong Chuhong. When he had breakfast with Milesi, Yang Jirong and Li Yufang in the restaurant, Yang Jirong picked up a newspaper and said, Peter, I just saw the news that you and Imperial Group are going to acquire Huifeng Bank. Yang Ming and Imperial Group want to acquire Huifeng Bank. When Yang Jirong saw the news for the first time, he was really shocked. He felt that no matter how rich his son was, he might not be able to acquire Huifeng Bank, because it was impossible for Countrywide to sell it to a private individual. He guessed that this must be news that the media and newspapers published deliberately in order to increase circulation. Yang Ming and Milesi smiled. Daddy, such a thing does happen. Real? Yang Jirong was even more surprised. Of course there is no big discrepancy like media reports. In the view of Yang Jirong and Li Yufang, it is not easy for their sons to actually acquire part of the shares of Huifeng Bank. In fact, Huifeng Bank has always been a listed company in Hong Kong, and ordinary shareholders can buy Huifeng Bank shares. The investment of these ordinary investors is still very different from Yang Ming's current investment in Huifeng Bank. After Yang Ming and Maris finished breakfast, they got into the Rolls-Royce and drove away from here, heading to the Federal Building. At this time, there is still more than an hour before the Hong Kong stock market starts. However, word has spread in Xiangjiang that Yang Ming, chairman of Empire Group, wants to acquire Huifeng Bank. I don't know who first broke this news, because in addition to a few people from the Imperial Group, those who knew about it were also shareholders of Kira and Huifeng Bank, as well as members of the negotiation teams of both parties. When so many people know about it, it is normal for someone to spread it deliberately. Some time ago, Yang Ming had just swallowed up Wharf and Hutchison Whampoa. This makes many Xiangjiang investors think that it is entirely possible for Yang Ming and Imperial Group to acquire Huifeng Bank. As for whether they can swallow up Huifeng Bank, they don't know. For these investors, there is speculation in the stock price. This means that as long as the Imperial Group really acquires the shares of Huifeng Bank is likely to be like the original Wharf, and the stock price will start to soar. For these Hong Kong investors, this is naturally an opportunity for them to make profits. Changji Industrial Group Building Headquarters, Office of the Chairman. Li Jiaqing just came by car from Deepwater Bay. Last night, he and his wife originally wanted to visit Mr. Shen. The couple took a car to the Peak Villa. They saw Mrs. Shen, but not Mr. Shen. They learned that Shenbai was still at the Huifeng Bank building. When working overtime, the couple can only leave early. Now, I have just arrived at the chairman's office. In the newspaper delivered by the secretary, I suddenly noticed a piece of news, regarding the news that Yang Ming, chairman of Empire Group, wants to acquire Huifeng Bank. When Li Jiaqing saw the news, he sneered. He knew very well that acquiring Huifeng Bank was completely impossible and had nothing to do with money. No matter how rich Yang Ming was, Huifeng Bank would not sell it to him. So why are these newspapers publishing such news now? Li Jiaqing looked there carefully and felt a little confused. Could it be that someone wanted to deliberately speculate on the stock price of Huifeng Bank and deliberately bring out Imperial Group and Yang Ming? Li Jiaqing thinks it is very possible. However, he didn't care about this because he knew that it was impossible for Yang Ming and Imperial Group to acquire Huifeng Bank. 9:00 Yang Ming and MaleProtagonist returned to the Imperial Group. Yang Ming first returned to the chairman's office and asked Lin Shouji to take today's global stock information to other people in charge. Yang Ming was sitting in the chairman's office. 9:30 am. The four major stock exchanges in Hong Kong opened. Upon receiving the news that Yang Ming and Imperial Group wanted to acquire Huifeng Bank's stock price soon began to soar. It started from 16 yuan per share and soared to 25 yuan per share. There are many investors buying and selling following the trend. When the stock market ended in the morning, Huifeng Bank's stock price had soared to 30 yuan per share. Even then, Huifeng Bank did not provide any explanation. The exchange did not suspend trading, and trading continued normally in the afternoon, as if the news from the outside had nothing to do with Huifeng Bank. Now many investors are rushing into Huifeng Bank. Yang Ming knew that as long as the Empire Group and Huifeng Bank reached an agreement by then, Huifeng Bank's stock price would definitely return to normal. Yang Ming no longer pays attention to things like these. 17:00 p.m. Before Yang Ming left the Imperial Group, he talked with MaleProtagonist for half an hour in the chairman's office. After Yang Ming left, MaleProtagonist, Tang Shuyan and others stayed in the Empire Group. 20:00 in the evening, Imperial Group and Huifeng Bank are conducting a second round of secret negotiations. This negotiation, Huifeng Bank agreed to the first plan proposed by Imperial Group, that is, when Imperial Group acquires 20% of Huifeng Bank's shares, it will not have to pay a penny. However, the price will of course be negotiated in another contract. With this common plan, the two sides continued talks in the second round. Among them, MaleProtagonist knew what his boss said. Huifeng Bank must invest at least 10 billion Hong Kong dollars, with no upper limit, and the maximum return on investment is 10 points. Regarding the amount of investment and the rate of return, this is also a matter for negotiation between the two parties. In the end, the second round lasted until 2300 hours in the evening. Maris and Shenbai announced the end of the second round of negotiations. Chapter 9. Please subscribe. Chapter 98 Huifeng Bank Stock Price Soared. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Malisi left Huifeng Bank and drove to the Repulse Bay mid-level villa to meet Yang Ming. The time has come to 0:35 in the morning. Yang Ming had already rested. There was a knock on the door and Yang Ming woke up. For a short distance, he could get up and open the door by himself without the help of Azu and Zhong Chuhong. I saw the housekeeper Lin Dezhong outside the door. Young Master Yang, it's Mr. Malice here. Ask him to come up quickly. When Malice came up, he saw Yang Ming already sitting in the wheelchair in the study, waiting for him. Boss, I'm sorry to disturb you so late. It's okay, you are also here for me and the Imperial Group. The public security in Xinjiang is not good. You drove here so late, and I am still worried about your safety. Seeing that his boss was young and hardworking, Maris felt that working with Yang Ming would be a promising future. Seeing that his boss was still so concerned about his own safety, Merlis was a little touched. Maris sat down opposite Yang Ming and reported to Yang Ming in detail the second secret negotiation with Huifeng Bank. You mean Huifeng Bank has agreed to the first plan? Boss, that's true. However, we still need to continue talking with them about how much they are prepared to invest and how many years they are prepared to sign with us. The more money they're willing to invest, the better. Yang Ming has many channels and ways to make money. Huifeng Bank was waiting to send him funds, and Yang Ming was of course very happy. As for how many years the contract will be signed, Yang Ming doesn't know. Anyway, as long as he gets the funds from Huifeng Bank, the longer it takes, the more he will earn. Finished talking to Melis, the time has come to around 1 o'clock in the morning. After Yang Ming went to rest first, Maris was also arranged to rest in the guest room, have a night's rest. Early the next day, Yang Ming still woke up early. As usual, Azu and Zhong Chuhong helped Yang Ming wash his face, change his clothes, and come down from upstairs to exercise. When Yang Ming finished his simple exercise, Yang Ming, Yang Jirong, Li Yufang, and my Lizzie had breakfast there together. Yesterday, news spread in Xinjiang that Yang Ming and Imperial Group were planning to acquire Huifeng Bank. As a result, Huifeng Bank's shares in Hong Kong soared from 16 yuan per share to 30 yuan per share yesterday, and the stock price more than doubled in one day. Yesterday, neither Huifeng Bank nor Imperial Group gave an explanation for the news, so now in the market, many investors believe that Imperial Group is really likely to acquire Huifeng Bank. Peter, there are rumors in the press that you and Imperial Group have acquired Huifeng Bank. Yang Jirong said. He asked Yang Ming yesterday. Yang Ming also said it was true. Unexpectedly, today is even more terrifying. The media and newspapers have reported that Yang Ming wants to control Huifeng Bank. Investors who are familiar with Huifeng Bank's management rights and equity know that this is definitely impossible. In other words, someone is deliberately creating and speculating Huifeng Bank stock information, so as to obtain huge returns on investing in Huifeng Bank stock. Yang Ming knew that most of these investors could only be exploited by others. Dad, the actual acquisition is different from what is rumored outside. It will only be confirmed after the Imperial Group and Huifeng Bank have reached an agreement and both parties hold a press conference. Yang Ming finished breakfast, leaving Repulse Bay Mid-Level's villa with Melis. Take the car to the Federal Building. Yang Ming had just arrived at the chairman's office. Lin Shoji made him a cup of hot coffee, and Yang Ming took a few sips. He looked at the time and found that around 9 o'clock in the morning. Yang Ming began to ask Lin Shoji to send global stock information to the person in charge below. After Lin Shoji left, Yang Ming is in his office. Now that he has time, he doesn't have to sort out the stock information when he goes back at night. It's just that now he has more things to consider. 9:30 am, the Hong Kong stock market officially opened. The stock price of Huifeng Bank continued to rise from 30 yuan per share. At this time, for Hong Kong investors and stockholders, it is like a stock market feast. If the Imperial Group wants to acquire Huifeng Bank, and the Imperial Group eats the meat, then investors like them will eat the soup, just like when the Imperial Group acquired the wharf. Suddenly, the Hong Kong stock market was as crazy as a bull market, driven by Huifeng Bank stock market. Many listed companies in Hong Kong began to rise. Until the end of the stock market in the morning, Huifeng Bank has increased from 30 yuan per share to 45 yuan per share. Compared with yesterday, When the stock price of Huifeng Bank was just 16 yuan per share, this has nearly tripled, which is very crazy. The Hong Kong stock market has just ended in the morning. Soon, the chairman of the Hong Kong Securities Regulatory Commission and the Acquisitions and Mergers Committee summoned the relevant person in charge of Huifeng Bank to confirm what was reported in the external market, in order to protect the interests of Hong Kong investors. When the Hong Kong stock market opened in the afternoon, Huifeng Bank announced a trading suspension. This news shocked many investors in Hong Kong. Many reporters immediately rushed to the headquarters of Imperial Group and Huifeng Bank building to prepare interviews with both parties. Neither Huifeng Bank nor Imperial Group spoke. At this time, for those investors, the news that Imperial Group wanted to acquire Huifeng Bank was even more confirmed. In the eyes of those investors, if Imperial Group acquires Wharf and Hutchison Whampoa, it will already belong to Shituanshiang. So now that the Imperial Group acquires Huifeng Bank, in their view, it is a snake swallowing the whale. Many investors can't understand why a company that was established less than 2 months ago acquired Huifeng Bank, a British-owned bank that has been in business for more than a century. 17:00 p.m., Prince's Building, Global Shipping Headquarters. Bao Yugong is in his chairman's office. There was a knock on the door, and it was Wu Guangzhen, the second son-in-law, who opened the door and walked in. "Father, people are saying that the Imperial Group is going to acquire Huifeng Bank." At first, Wu Guangzhen couldn't believe the news. However, in the morning, Huifeng Bank's stock price continued to soar, and in the afternoon, Huifeng Bank suddenly suspended trading. "Guangzhen, how can you be like those blind investors outside? Given the nature of Huifeng Bank, how could it be acquired by the Imperial Group?" Bao Yugong put down the contract in his hand and said, "Father, didn't you say that Mr. Shen wanted to sell his shares to the Imperial Group? Not bad. In fact, it is exactly the same as when Huifeng Bank introduced our Bao family to Huifeng Bank. At the beginning, many subsidiaries of global shipping were cross-controlled with Huifeng Bank. Now we own 20% of the shares of Huifeng Bank. Huifeng Bank also owns shares in global shipping and many subsidiaries. However, Huifeng Bank's equity and management rights have nothing to do with it. Father, I still don't understand. Is Huifeng Bank also cross-controlled with Imperial Group?" That Wu Guangzhen still couldn't figure it out. Even so, were Imperial Group and Huifeng Bank cross-holdings? No. It is said that Mr. Yang of Imperial Group can double the profits of Huifeng Bank, so Mr. Shen is preparing to sell him 20% of Huifeng Bank's shares. Doubled profits? Wu Guangzhen was stunned. Just when Bao Yugong was talking about this matter with his second son-in-law, Changji Industrial Group Building. Office of the Chairman, Li Jiaqing originally didn't care whether Yang Ming acquired Huifeng Bank, because he knew that given the situation of the Imperial Group, no matter how rich he was, he would not be able to acquire Huifeng Bank. Now all the media and newspapers in Hong Kong are reporting so wildly that Huifeng Bank stock has stopped trading in the afternoon. This made Li Jiaqing really suspicious. Is the Imperial Group really going to swallow up Huifeng Bank? If that is the case, the impact on Li Jiaqing and Changchun Industrial Group will be great. Chapter 10. Please subscribe. Chapter 99. Huifeng Bank provides 100 billion Hong Kong dollars in 5-year installments. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 2000 hours in the evening, Federal Building, Imperial Group's conference room, Huifeng Bank, represented by Shen Bai and John Bao, etc., and Imperial Group, represented by Mai Lizi, Tang Shirlian, etc., conducted the third round of secret negotiations. This negotiation is about the funds provided by Huifeng Bank and the length of cooperation between the two parties. Among them, the Imperial Group proposed a 5-year period, based on an annual investment capital of 10 billion, with a return rate of 10 points per year. In other words, a profit of 1 billion per year would be a profit of 5 billion in 5 years. Compared with the profits of Huifeng Bank in recent years, the net profit of 5 billion in 5 years is indeed very crazy. Huifeng Bank, John Bao proposed, investment funds provided to Imperial Group by Huifeng Bank. In the first year, Huifeng Bank provided 10 billion Hong Kong dollars and made a profit of 1 Hong Kong dollar billion. In the second year, Huifeng Bank provided 15 billion Hong Kong dollars and made a profit of 1 Hong Kong dollar and 50 cents billion. In the third year, Huifeng Bank provided 20 billion Hong Kong dollars and made a profit of 2 Hong Kong dollars billion. In the fourth year, Huifeng Bank provided 25 billion Hong Kong dollars and made a profit of 2 Hong Kong dollars and 50 cents billion. In the fifth year, Huifeng Bank provided 30 billion Hong Kong dollars and made a profit of 3 Hong Kong dollars billion. John Bao's plan was discussed with Shen Bai for a long time. For example, by providing 10 billion Hong Kong dollars in the first year, Empire Group successfully completed the investment within 1 year and allowed Huifeng Bank to obtain a net profit of 1 Hong Kong dollar billion. Then in the second year, if an additional 5 billion Hong Kong dollars is added to the original basis, the investment capital will become 15 Hong Kong dollars billion, and so on. 5 years later, Huifeng Bank will invest the equivalent of 100 billion Hong Kong dollars and earn a net profit of 10 Hong Kong dollars billion. In the late 70s, early 80s. Even investing in installments and years, this is undoubtedly a very large amount of money. Why do Shen Yi and John Bao believe in the investment of Yang Ming and Imperial Group? In addition to the continuous deposits of Empire Group and Huifeng Bank, there are also the current values of Empire Group's wharf and even Hutchison Whampoa as collateral. They don't have to worry about Imperial Group's investment failure at all. 100 billion Hong Kong dollars in funds, that's really a lot of investment money. Not only Merlis was surprised, but Tang Shilian and the negotiators of the Imperial Group were also surprised. As Yang Ming said, the more money he has, the better. Of course, he is different from those scammers in his previous life. Those scammers simply rely on high interest rates to defraud others of their principal. However, Yang Ming really has many channels to make a lot of money. The two sides talked from 20 to 23:45 in the evening. In arguments and quarrels, the two parties formally determined the investment contract between the two parties, an investment fund jointly established by Huifeng Bank and Empire Group. In the first phase, that is, in the first year, Huifeng Bank will provide 10 billion Hong Kong dollars in batches. This amount of funds was handed over to the Imperial Group for investment. According to Shen Bai's original idea, the Imperial Group used the money to enter the global stock market to make money. Yang Ming cannot make money for Huifeng Bank in vain. As long as he cooperates with Huifeng Bank will provide funds, Imperial Group will give them a 10-point return rate, and the rest will be controlled by Imperial Group. Both parties signed this contract. Tomorrow morning, press conferences will be held in the conference room of Huifeng Bank building headquarters and the conference room of Empire Group headquarters respectively. In First News, that is the Imperial Group's acquisition of 20% of Huifeng Bank's shares. Neither Imperial Group nor Huifeng Bank will announce the specific purchase price. Imperial Group did take a stake in Huifeng Bank and became Huifeng Bank's major shareholder. Second message, Huifeng Bank provides funds to Imperial Group for investment. The ROI will be around 10 points. The specific amount of funds Huifeng Bank will provide to Imperial Group will not be announced by both parties. These two pieces of news can definitely shock investors in Xiangjiang. When Maris shook hands with Shen Bai, John Bao and others, Shen Bai, John Bao and others left. General Manager, I didn't expect that our Imperial Group would actually become the major shareholder of Huifeng Bank. Tang Shilian still felt like she was in a dream. What she couldn't believe the most, within these 5 years, Huifeng Bank will provide 100 billion Hong Kong dollars to Imperial Group. What is this concept? This is equivalent to providing Imperial Group with an investment of $18 billion. With these huge funds, the Imperial Group cannot do anything it wants. It is clear, now Huifeng Bank is greedy for the high interest rates provided by Imperial Group. The boss is far more powerful than we imagined. Melis said. After leaving the federal building, Maris took a car to the Repulse Bay Mid-Levels Villa. Milesi and Yang Ming met in the study, and Milesi reported in detail the third round of investment with Huifeng Bank. Huifeng Bank will provide us with a total of 100 billion funds to invest within 5 years, and they will earn a net profit of 10 billion Hong Kong dollars within 5 years. Yang Ming really laughed. With such a large sum of money, even if he stops in the stock market, he will have a steady stream of funds entering all walks of life. Of course, Yang Ming knows that there is a big difference between the 100 billion in 5 years and the 100 billion now. Meredith, you did a good job this time. Boss, I'm still very surprised. Why did Mr. Shen do that? You'll understand later. Have a night's rest. Early the next day, when Yang Ming got up early and finished his exercise, and after breakfast with Milesi, Yang Jirong, and Li Yufeng, he took a Rolls-Royce to the Imperial Group 9:30 am conference room at Huifeng Bank Building headquarters, conference room at the Empire State headquarters in the Federal Building. Press conferences were held separately. Two very important news were announced at the press conference. One is that Imperial Group officially acquired 20% of Huifeng Bank's shares. In other words, from now on, Imperial Group is also the majority shareholder of Huifeng Bank. Yang Ming will become a director of Huifeng Bank. When Huifeng Bank holds a board of directors meeting, he will sit with Bao Yugong and others. Even if Yang Ming is the major shareholder of Huifeng Bank, he still has no influence on the management and decision-making power of Huifeng Bank. One piece of news is that Huifeng Bank will provide Imperial Group with an investment fund, which will be handed over to Imperial Group for investment. Huifeng Bank will receive a return on investment of 10 points per year. The return on investment of 10 points is actually very high in Hong Kong and even globally. When the news came out, it immediately shocked many reporters present. This is news that shocks all walks of life in Hong Kong. When the press conference between Huifeng Bank and Imperial Group had just ended, although it had not yet been reported, the news had spread throughout Hong Kong and even overseas. Trading hours of the four major exchanges in Hong Kong in the morning. Huifeng Bank is still suspended from trading. In the afternoon, the Hong Kong Securities Regulatory Commission and the Takeovers and Mergers Committee have learned that Imperial Group and Huifeng Bank have officially announced the acquisition. Huifeng Bank's stock market traded normally in the afternoon. At that time, Huifeng Bank's shares had just resumed listing, and the stock price had soared from 45 yuan per share yesterday morning to 60 yuan per share. This is mainly related to the announcement of investment plans by Imperial Group and Huifeng Bank. After all, an investment return rate of 10 points per year is still crazy to those investors. Since Huifeng Bank believes that Imperial Group can do it, these investors also believe that Huifeng Bank can do it. Not only does Huifeng Bank's stock price not fall, but it will continue to rise. The share price of Huifeng Bank soared to 65 yuan per share, which was the highest share price of Huifeng Bank in recent years. If it continues to soar, it is likely to break the record for Huifeng Bank's highest share price. Chapter 11. Please subscribe. Chapter 100. The last round of negotiations between Imperial Group and Huifeng Bank. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jointly establish Huifeng Empire Fund. 16:00 p.m., the Hong Kong stock market closed. This day can be said to be a feast for investors in Hong Kong. When it was reported that Imperial Group was going to acquire Huifeng Bank's stock price started to soar from the initial 16 yuan per share to a maximum of 70 yuan per share today. Even though Imperial Group and Huifeng Bank had officially held press conferences in the morning, the press conference announced that Imperial Group only invested in Huifeng Bank and purchased 20% of the shares. Even then, Huifeng Bank's share price has been speculated very high by investors today. After soaring from 16 yuan per share to 70 yuan per share, it is already the highest share price of Huifeng Bank in recent years. In the past 3 years, the highest stock price of Huifeng Bank was just over 60 per share, and then fell back quickly. For investors in Imperial Group and Shangjiang, it is indeed an investment feast. Everyone has meat to eat. Yang Ming knew that the stock price of Huifeng Bank would fall back soon, and those investors who bought at a high price would be in trouble if they didn't sell by then. These have nothing to do with the Imperial Group or Yang Ming. However, Yang Ming feels that if Huifeng Bank's net profit doubles next year due to Imperial Group's investment, Huifeng Bank's stock price is likely to remain at this high price. Even then, it won't be long before Huifeng Bank's share price will fall. Just when many people in Shangjiang were paying attention to the Imperial Group's investment in Huifeng Bank and becoming the major shareholder of Huifeng Bank, Maris walked in and said, "Boss, tonight the Imperial Group will have the 4th round of negotiations with Huifeng Bank." In fact, in the first 3 rounds, it was determined that Imperial Group would take a stake in Huifeng Bank and how much investment Huifeng Bank would give to Imperial Group. In addition to these, the two sides will also conduct a 4th round of negotiations. Melisi, it's up to you, Tang Shilian, Lin Shouji and others to personally participate in the negotiations. Yang Ming no longer cares about negotiations, he just wants to get those funds, convert 10 billion Hong Kong dollars into US dollars, which is also 1.8 billion US dollars. In 1978, this was definitely a lot of money. although the money does not belong to Huifeng Bank, but to those customers, Huifeng Bank can definitely use it to invest in Yang Ming. As for the fourth round of negotiations between Huifeng Bank and Imperial Group, it is obvious in what way both parties are prepared to invest. 17:30 p.m., Yang Ming left the Federal Building after get-off work. When Yang Ming got into the Rolls-Royce, Chen Zhenhua and others escorted Yang Ming out of the Federal Building and back to the Repulse Bay Mid-Levels Villa. When Yang Ming swallowed up Wharf and Hutchison Whampoa, Yang Ming's reputation had already spread in Hong Kong, the mainland, and even the world. Now that Yang Ming has taken a stake in Huifeng Bank, his reputation will be even better. When he returned to the Repulse Bay Mid-Levels Villa in a Rolls-Royce, the Rolls-Royce just stopped. Lin Dezhong, Ong Jirong, Li Yufang, Zhong Chuhong, Azu and others all came out to greet them. My precious son. Li Yufang looked very excited when she saw her son getting out of the car. Before Yang Ming even sat in the wheelchair, she had already come over and hugged Yang Ming. Mommy, what's wrong with you? Peter, you really need to show respect to our Mr. Yang. I don't know how many relatives and friends called me today. Li Yufang said excitedly. Yesterday, she had already learned that her son was going to acquire Huifeng Bank. Today, my son and his company, Imperial Group, really bought a stake in Huifeng Bank. This news really shocked everyone who knew Yang Jirong and his wife. Young Master Yang, today our Yang family has received more congratulations and invitations than last time. The butler Lin Dezhong on the side also said excitedly. Last time, Yang Ming had just swallowed up Hutchison Whampoa, which had shocked the British and Chinese capital in Hong Kong, so much so that many prestigious families sent invitations and congratulations to the Yang family. It was with Kayla's help that Lin Dezhong finished processing the invitations and congratulations. Did not expect. Imperial Group and Huifeng Bank just held a press conference today to announce this. The Yang family received many invitations and congratulations, and even many expensive gifts. This made Lin Dezhong not only stressed, but also felt that his face was very different. You handle it. Yang Ming said. Li Yufang pushed Yang Ming inside. The food here at the Yang family today is also very rich. Just to celebrate Yang Ming and Imperial Group's investment in Huifeng Bank. After Yang Ming finished dinner, Zaiazu and Zhong Chuhong pushed Yang Ming upstairs. Master, does Huifeng Bank belong to you now? Azu asked. Azu was indeed shocked by Yang Ming's investment in Huifeng Bank. Before that, Ajudu didn't think anything about Yang Ming's acquisition of Wharf and Hutchison Whampoa, because she was just an ordinary maid and didn't know how powerful these two foreign companies were. Only later did she learn about these two foreign companies. Hutchison Whampoa has more than 200,000 employees. Only then did she know what the young master's acquisition of Hutchison Whampoa meant. However, Huifeng Bank plays the role of a central bank in Xiangjiang, and most people in Xiangjiang deposit their wages or savings into it. In addition to depositing money with Huifeng Bank, Aju also sends money to relatives in his hometown in Nanyang through Huifeng Bank. No, I'm just an ordinary shareholder. Azu and Zhong Chuhong didn't know the relationship between Huifeng Bank's management rights and equity. It would take a long time to explain to them. However, now with the relationship between Yang Ming and Shen Bai, it actually makes other outsiders feel different. About this time, conference room at Huifeng Bank building headquarters. Huifeng Bank consists of Shen Bai, John Bao, Kayla and others as members of the fourth round of negotiations. The Empire Group consists of Mai Lizi, Tang Shilian, Lin Xiuji and others as members of the fourth round of negotiations. Both parties began to raise the first funds from Huifeng Bank to Imperial Group, because it is 10 billion Hong Kong dollars in the first year. However, when will the 10 billion Hong Kong dollars be delivered in batches? Both parties must also be determined. Where does Huifeng Bank come from with investment funds like these? In addition to Huifeng Bank, it can use its own funds. For example, in addition to dividends, this is the rest of its annual profits. Huifeng Bank has made more and more profits in recent years, which is naturally a lot. In addition, investors' deposits in Huifeng Bank can also be withdrawn. These deposits are provided to Xiangjiang citizens or investors, and Huifeng Bank needs to provide interest. In addition, Huifeng Bank can even issue certain bonds, private equity funds and public funds to raise funds from Xiangjiang citizens or other Investors, Yang Ming and Imperial Group were not concerned about where the funds from Huifeng Bank came from. What he cared about was when he would get the investment funds. The two sides are conducting the fourth round of negotiations on this issue. We talked until after 10 o'clock in the evening. Negotiations between the two parties ended. Among them, the first investment of 2 billion Hong Kong dollars this year will be the Huifeng Empire Fund established in the name of Huifeng Bank and Empire Group, and the money will be injected into this fund account. As for the remaining 8 billion Hong Kong dollars, it will be injected in batches within a year. Chapter 12. Please subscribe.